Okay, we have our third game of the match here. Artificer Barge, Merchant Guild, Paddock, Rice Broker is a new one I have not seen yet. River Shrine, I have seen change. I have not seen Alley. We just saw quite a bit. City Quarter again seems good. So trashing tends to want to be River Shrine. It looks like, um, or Rice Broker. I guess I have 5-2. I open with a Rice Broker. um, and then Gather seems good. I can also open Paddock or Barge. Maybe Barge is going to be a better opening on a 5-2. Like, is there a world where I do Barge, something else? I don't think so. Harsh Winter will be annoying, I think, for a lot of the piles. 5-2 awkward here, I think. I don't really know. So Rice Broker, I guess this is going to be a lab or a super lab at the beginning of the game, so it just seems like a really good card to open. And City Quarter does not seem strong enough to take the 6 debt, so I will pass my turn here. Now that I have Rice Broker, I guess I take a Barge. I guess you can also look at Artificer potentially with the plus bio. That's plus. It's only plus cards if you trash a treasure action. Okay, misreading it. Do I then want to trash something else? Probably not. Next turn, I'll hit 3 or 4. I guess I'm just getting a silver. We'll go ahead and get myself a River Shrine so I can trash 2 cards at once. And I guess we want to generally trash our estates with River Shrine. So now in the 5, I'll go ahead and get myself a Barge, which seems like a good card. I think Paddock also works really well with City Quarter. Change is something also. Merchant Guild is also something interesting. There's a lot of things going on. I guess I have my 2 terminals are going to be Barge and River Shrine to start. I'll get a Barge now and then potentially get a City Quarter as my next thing. And this is going to be a somewhat sad turn, but I guess I'm pretty happy to just trash 2 cards and get it done with. And then I can gain a 4, which would be Innkeeper, probably. I don't know what the alley is doing for me at this point of the game. Innkeeper is a bunch of sifting, so Innkeeper is going to be pretty good with City Quarter stuff that I'm planning on doing. And City Quarter is the only draw, so getting Innkeeper to discard all your random stuff seems good. So they did a lot of stuff. Okay, they changed an estate into Paddock, taking the debt. They paid the debt to buy a City Quarter. Okay, so I end buys. I gain myself an Innkeeper. Ooh, okay. Useful to note. I should now be unmuted, ZW Lemon. So let's see what they did. They did Silver, River Shrine. Got it early trashed. Gained an alley. Turn 4 was an unlucky turn for them. And then do we just go ahead and play the Barge next turn? Do we trash 2 cards here? I do have the Innkeeper there. I guess I need Payload next turn. What is the card I need to buy? Do I just need to buy a silver, unfortunately? For the money? It seems like I do. And by buy, I mean not buy, but gain with that. And I think my plan here is to +3, discard 3, try to find the Rice Broker to trash another copper, and then play the Barge next turn and buy a City Quarter. And somehow my opponent is 2 turns ahead again. This has been sort of the litany of thinking maybe the Barge was bad. No, I think I just drew the Barge dead when I bought it. I don't know. Let's do +3, discard 3. Um, actually, I can just trash the River Shrine now. I feel like I don't need it anymore. And we'll play that for next turn. Buy ourselves a city quarter and pay off the debt immediately, which seems cool. And then we buy ourselves a Merchant Guild this turn and a Paddock next turn. And Merchant Guild Paddock is going to be a sweet combo because that's when you gain cards. Oh, it's only in the buy phase. They changed that. But the Paddocks are going to be sweet. Alley doesn't work great with City Quarter because it's not in your hand, but I guess it works fine with the Rice Broker type stuff. And I'm just going to be slowly thinning coppers. I can probably buy coppers even with barge stuff going on. I do only have one terminal space next turn, so maybe I want to get Paddock, City Quarter as my two terminals, and then Merchant Guild the turn after that. And Harsh Winter's on, so I'm going to be gaining more debt when I buy the City Quarters, which is annoying. Yeah, okay. So what am I doing? I'm buying Paddock, City Quarter, and then next turn I play the barge, pay off the debt. Or do I buy Merchant Guild, City Quarter? Perhaps Merchant Guild just seems better. And potentially trash something in my hand. I'm not sure. I do seem to have the plus buy going on for myself, which is quite good. And I'll probably just play the City Quarter first, try to find the other one. And if I have to gain some coppers this turn, I'll gain some coppers for the coffers and look to get like City Quarter Paddock this turn. And feel good about having two City Quarters and maybe build up to a mega turn with Merchant Guild. So I'll probably next turn the barge and buy like City Guild, City Quarter Merchant Guild again, and maybe I'm just not even buying Paddocks. Because Merchant Guild doesn't give you coffers for Paddocks. I thought at some point it did. Chat can tell me later if it didn't. Artificer City Quarter is kind of a combo, but I think they're going to be annoyed to not have the coffers. I can also at some point trash this Innkeeper. Is this the point? Perhaps it is. The next turn. Am I really buying two coppers for the coffers? Yeah, this turn did not turn out well. I kind of also want to gather. How much does gather costs? Gather costs 7, and I can get a 3, 4, 5. So silver. Silver. Change Merchant Guild and then buy a City Quarter and just have tons of coffers. And I think I should be able to draw deck with the stuff that I have. I do have a barge coming into play. So it should be fine. Barge. Let's see. Yes, I have a barge coming to play, so I almost certainly will draw everything this turn. I feel more like I've caught up somehow. I think having the Merchant Guild is a big deal. Gather does kind of get around this debt thing, so that's kind of worth noting, but so does Artificer. So perhaps I need to get an Artificer. We'll see what they do this turn. I do kind of want to Paddock, but it just doesn't seem like it's super in the position here. So it seems like doing some kind of gathering thing is going to be the best. I also have most of the plus buy. Their plus buy is coming from Artificer. My plus buy is coming from Artificer Merchant Guild. So I'm going to be getting a lot of coffers with things like Gather. If I have to take the debt to buy the City Quarter, although I kind of expect them to gain another City Quarter this turn. What did they do? They gained an Artificer. They gained the debt. Really? They gained debt. Artificer gains debt? I did not know how debt worked. I thought it was only when you bought a card from that pile that you got the debt. Ah, Harsh Winter. Good. So this is a new card we're learning. When you gain a card in your turn, if there's money in its pile, take it. So that is overriding the normal debt rules, which is quite interesting. So I can gather for 3 things that don't have debt on them. And then everything will just have debt on them and make it really hard for my opponent to buy stuff. I do kind of assume Paddock also gains debt. And we'll go ahead and trash a copper. Paddock becomes Slay. There's debt on its pile, take it. Okay, we pair debt. I don't see a super strong reason. What did they buy? They just bought a barge. I have a barge next turn. If there's debt on its pile, take it. Interesting. Okay. That is quite useful to note. So I can do Gather for Artificer, Innkeeper, Silver. I don't want a Silver. So maybe Gather's no good here. Kind of brutal then. What is the thing I want to do? I still want to just be building to this Merchant Guild thing. But I don't want to gain a Silver, and Gather's going to force me to do that. So I can just gain a Merchant Guild, pay the debt, and gain a City Quarter, and then not... Is change worth it? I have any debt plus 3 money. Just gain Merchant Guild and City Quarter, and then next turn, and don't buy a copper just because of the terminal. And the next turn, I should be able to pay all that off with 8, 10. I think that will work. I just really want City Quarters. And I have quite a bit of debt, but also have quite a bit of coffers. So this turn, my goal will be to play Merchant Guild. Next turn, Barge. I'll gain another Barge. I mean, I feel like they're winning the battle of the debt stuff here. So that's worth noting. So Harsh Winter, when you gain a card in your turn, if there's debt in its pile, take it. Yeah, Paddock gets a lot worse than... yes, they're taking debt every time they play Paddock. Interesting. The horses still seem good for change, potentially. But this was, by the way, a phenomenally good draw with this big deck. I'm going to easily draw a deck here. Be able to pay off all my debt. And trash a copper, probably, just to keep that moving. Next turn, the Barge. We play our 2 Merchant Guild. We pay off all of our debt. And let's see what we do here. We don't really have much money to do anything with, which is unfortunate. I really wanted to buy a... Oops, undo. I wanted to... Okay. Am I just going to buy 3 coppers to get a ton of coffers? Yes. Oh. Well, that's the best I can do, I think. Don't Don't really want to take on 8 more debt for another city quarter, do I? Guess it seems like an okay turn to do it. I'm going to get 2 more coffers. I have a ton of draw next turn. No, it seems like I'm shooting myself in the foot too hard doing that. Curse is also there. That's true. I could buy a curse. Doesn't seem worth it to me. With the duration barge, but I don't get a duration barge in this turn, so I needed to do my payload better. I think track my payload and my coffers better. Fairly confident to draw deck this turn. I'm pretty happy to be building up this stash of coffers and have an extra city quarter. Maybe I need to buy 1 more city quarter. I certainly need to get alternating barges down and potentially 1 artificer for the stuff. I don't really like using all of the treasure payload, but you know, it is what it is. Change is something you can consider that my opponent is maybe doing. Okay, they drew an alley. They drew discard an item. Yeah, Artificer City Quarter is something you can do to gain a ton of cards very quickly. So maybe that is my biggest need here, is to get an Artificer, and hopefully be able to draw it and use it to gain stuff next turn. But they're putting debt on everything useful, which is annoying. See if they end up buying coppers as well, which is something that I have done. Okay, we kick off again. We play our merchant guilds. We do go ahead and thin copper in the end actions, and we buy stuff. So gather doesn't seem useful to me. So I said I didn't need a barge this turn. I really needed an artificer. And do I want 1 more merchant guild? Do I just take 2 artificers on this turn? That seems reasonable to me. Put the debt back on and hopefully kick off next turn. Do stuff with artificer, and building up this lead of coffers potentially. Although they perhaps have a little bit of a better deck. But end the turn with no debt. And they've got 6 debt. One has to be very concerned. Like, they're very close to some kind of 3 pile with Artificer, gaining Artificer, drawing 10 cards back with City Quarter. Artificer gaining Province, gaining a ton of cards back with City Quarter. The horses are certainly going to enable that. I don't even know if they're playing. Yeah, they've got 2 horses. And a bunch of coppers still. So we are still going to trash coppers with Rice Broker. Still potentially. I could have bought a copper last turn. Not when there's debt in the pile. I couldn't. It's not worth it. Curse is close to worth it with 2 merchant guilds in play, I think, in this kind of kingdom. And wanting to play Rice Broker to just trash something sometimes. So I might actually buy the curse just to make Spec Chat happy. I think I do need to gain victory cards this turn because gain a curse if you do trash a card from your hand. Yeah. Victory ritual causes you to gain the curse and gain the debt potentially. Yes, okay. So biggest thing I do need to, they have so much debt. And there's still debt on all the piles, it looks like. I may even need to double province this turn to feel safe. I'm slightly confused by what the allies are doing here in this kingdom, but we'll see what they do. They bought nothing. Okay, we'll go ahead and trash a copper to draw some cards. Aha, we have drawn deck. Slightly overdrew, but that's okay. I'm going to use Artificer. What do I want to do with Artificer? If I discard Artificer and if I discard 4 cards, I can gain a card costing up to 4. That would be like an Innkeeper. I can also gain a River Shrine, which I don't need. I can gain a Change, which I can trash a card and gain card costing up to more to it. So I can trash something to gain something. If I discard 5 and then City Quarter, Artificer, I kind of do want to gain a barge this turn, kind of no matter what. So perhaps I will do that to gain the barge. Oop, undo. I screwed that up. We'll gain a barge. And then this one will draw it. Do we want to gain something else for costing up to 1? I don't think so. Do that now. Next turn. Okay, so we have 16 money, 14 money. And we have our second barge in play, so I feel good about that. We can potentially buy another barge, although our terminal space is limited. So that leads me to just want to buy like a province and a duchy. Is there a world where I buy a gather? 3, 4, 5? Not really. I've only got 14 money. So province, duchy. Put some coffers on that pile. Make it really hard for them to pile. And then consider buying a curse, but I think it's too... I think it's too much. Like the 2 coffers don't seem worth it. So just go province, duchy, and feel okay. Should be able to kick off with the barge in play. And it's going to be harder for them to pile out because of all the debt. Yeah, I'm pretty worried about like the artificer pile and the barge pile running, although maybe there is no second pile that can run. With artificer, like even like the curse pile out, they're just gaining so much debt along the way. Change is something that they can potentially use to, if you have any debt, plus 3 coins. Otherwise, trash a card from your hand and gain a card costing more than it. So change is something you can use to mill provinces potentially. But I feel like the artificer thing they have going is working well. They're just draining the artificers, it looks like, taking the debt. Yeah, with two merchant guilds, the exact number that I have, buying stuff and taking on the debt is not super useful. With the 3rd merchant guild, it starts to make more sense to buy like 2 coppers for 2 debt and 6 coffers, especially when I've got barges and stuff and I'm drawing deck. Here I really need to consider if I can somehow trash, if I can use ritual to trash something, if I can use gather to do 3 piles. There's just no 3 thing costing 3. If I can use milling, or if I'm just buying double province or trying to artificer for a province, 1 province, then buying double province and feeling like that's enough money. I think my opponent can probably get 4 provinces in a turn is something I need to worry about. It does look like they're building towards that. So if they get like 1 province here, I'm a little concerned. I probably will challenge them. If they get double province here, I guess I need to be mostly concerned. But probably with double province, I can just get double province, double duchy, or something like triple province duchy myself. Spend all my coffers and see what happens. Double province is, I think, the line that I'm most scared of. If they get a single province, I will probably do province, duchy, duchy. Something like that. Maybe I'll just do, if I can triple, maybe I just triple and feel good about it. So city quarter draws a bunch. And barge. I needed to next turn this barge. So unfortunately, I'm slightly overdrawing with artificer, but I suppose that is okay. Use artificer. This is so awkward. Do I want to just gain a duchy? And then single? So if I gain a duchy and then single duchy, province duchy, that puts me at 21. If they get 4 duchies, they get to 30, which I can easily beat. If they get 5 duchy, if they get 5 provinces next turn, that puts them at 36, which would mean I need province, which is 6, and 21 more, which is basically the whole duchy pile. That seems unreasonable. So I think I need to do province double duchy here as my line. I potentially do province triple duchy, even maybe just province double duchy is going to be enough. We gain a duchy. City quarter mostly draws. And then artificer I can do something with here. I can gain a card costing up to 4, which in this case will be a change. And the problem is, can they mill with change? They can mill 1, 2, 3. They're taking on a bunch of debt. I think it's tough. I think I have to not. 7 just provinces, just 6 or yeah, 7 duchies just seems out of reach. But I'm gonna have so many duchies already. 2, 3, 4, 5. Gain another duchy. And then Merchant Guild. Next turn, pay off my debt. And just buy 1 province. Or gather for duchy. I don't want to take the debt. This is annoying. I think I just buy 1 duchy, 1 province, and challenge them to beat that. It seems very possible that their deck is capable of getting 5 provinces in a turn. Maybe 5 duchies and 2 barges is easier than 5 provinces. That would be 5 duchies, 2 barges, and an estate. They have a lot of debt they've taken on. It seems difficult for them to do any buys. So they're not building up any coffers. And they've got like 7 artificers, though. They only have 3 city quarters. So I don't think they can gain 5 provinces, actually. I also couldn't gain 2 provinces last turn, didn't end up mattering. But they're not gaining any coffers with their merchant guilds. I think it's going to be very tough for them to pile out, but I think it's possible that they can do so. So they gained a rice broker. Rice broker also lets them trash a bunch of cards if they trash a horse, for example. So they are doing like the full-on debt engine, which I thought was possible with Harsh Winter and Change and some of these cards where you just go deep into debt and don't care about making up the money again at the end. I think I built just here a little bit slowly in terms of getting my trashing down. I think if I'd paid attention to what Rice Broker did, I would have trashed a copper the first time through my deck all the way back in the beginning. Here, I would have just trashed a copper to draw 2 cards and then gotten through my shuffle faster. So I've already played 3 artificers and most of their city quarters. It seems at this point difficult for them to do a pile out on duchies. Maybe not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 3 more artificers. That was their last city quarter. They've got 3 artificers, which can gain 3 duchies. And they have change, which can gain a... change will not work to gain anything for them. River Shrine will not work to... River Shrine can gain a... If River Shrine's not in the trash, it is in the trash. So what is their gain? Alley, change. Am I missing something? Can they get enough money to pay off their debt? It's just going to end up being a tie, which seems possible. Can they gain 1 province and 2 duchies? I don't know. They're still drawing. They're getting close in money. How much money do they have? Do they have 8 money in that deck? Like 1 silver, 1 copper or something. I can see how much treasure they played last turn. Silver. So they have like a silver in their deck, which makes it... I don't know how much more money they can get. They have a merchant guild still, and maybe 1 more artificer. It's going to be very close in any case. I'm not surprised if they can get 2 double duchy and tie. I'm somewhat surprised if they can win. Oh, change generates 3 money. Change Merchant Guild silver is 15, plus the coffer 16. And they're still drawing. Yeah, I needed to have gotten an Artificer earlier, certainly. I think I missed that. Like Paddock trashing or Rice Broker trashing a copper draws a bunch of cards, then Artificer can just always gain a 5. And spreading around the debt with Harsh Winter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've played all of their Artificers now, I believe. So it's not clear to me they can get out of debt this turn. Oh, they had 8 Artificers. Right. Okay. So I believe they still have a change. They have 2 changes. They have 2 changes and a Merchant Guild. Then they can buy an estate and win the game. Which would be a nice pile out for them for sure. Tricky turn. The Artificer stuff, you got to think really hard about the counting and everything, which is why this turn has taken quite a long time. It's mostly to be expected. This has certainly been the longest game I've played since I've started playing again this year. So they discard 5 cards here to get a duchy. They still have to buy a duchy, so they have to get to 7 money, it seems like. And I basically have 10 money, even with almost the worst possible draw, just given a barge coming into play in 2 buys. So it's going to be quite tricky, I think, for them to come up with a win here. Maybe if they knew draw order from the beginning, and it's possible, as they said they screwed it up, maybe it's possible that they could have piled out. I don't think I can get to 4 provinces even, although I can do some gain and play stuff with change potentially. The thing that I thought would happen seems to be happening. They could not get to enough money to buy the last duchy. So I can go ahead and just click cards out and buy the last duchy here and win a game. So first player win for me, or second player win for me. Second player win for me. Interesting game. I don't think I played it perfectly. I think they probably played it a little bit better, but it was just a really tricky one at the end. So pretty happy to get a win. And I think we'll play one more.